105.1. Gabrielle Union is here, ladies and gentlemen. Author, New York Times best-selling author. Sorry, we should start the show, but we're busy talking about Versus because I was at Versus last night.
Yes, I'm so curious. I missed it all.
It was. Where were you?
I was doing my book tour stop in Brooklyn. I was out there like, Brooklyn.
Is that what was happening?
No, it's exactly what was happening. We sang, we danced. It was awesome.
That is so funny.
But I kept referencing the Verses, and I said, thank you all for being here because I probably would have been at the Verses.
Yeah, you would have had a good time. It was not a, I don't know, it was just a different type of experience because I've only watched them. You've watched them all.
I've watched them all.
All of them?
I'm sure there's a couple I missed in the beginning.
What is your favorite?
Just for the pure awkwardness.
Gucci and Jeezy? No.
Well, Jeezy and Gucci, that was awkward and delicious, so I enjoyed that. Monica and Brandy.
Yes.
I wanted a different one for Luda and Nelly because with the connection issues.
Yes.
What was the one that it was like over a holiday, like Easter? It was like for the aunties.
Oh, Earth, Wind, and Fire? As
Isley Brothers, yes.
That was legendary.
That was good.
You're such a music girl. I love that about you.
Yeah, I'm not up on the new stuff, though.
You're not?
Not.
Well, Sweetie is your cousin.
Well,
Can't she help you here?
That doesn't count. I mean, like Dee Dee, well, we call her Dee Dee.
Oh,
like,
sorry.
I know Dee Dee's music because that's my cousin and I'm going to pay attention.
She's your first cousin, yes?
She is my second cousin.
A second cousin.
Yeah, her dad and I are born a day apart and we have been having adventures since birth.
Got it.
that her dad that everyone is in love with and thinks is very hot. He was the hottest thing. Like I used to use him as bait. I'm like, okay, all right. I'm gonna need some of your teammates here. We're gonna work this out.
That's so.
But
funny.
So I know Dee Dee's music, but I don't know, and like obviously like Cardi B and Rihanna and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like the way Dwayne listens to Drake and Kanye, like on repeat, and then they discuss in their group chats. They're discussing the lyrics.
It's very serious. It's a very serious conversation and discussion. You're like, give me the Earth, Wind,
just give
and
me the
Fire.
hits. Like okay, Meg, okay, Cardi, okay.
You're such
Nicki,
a girl's
okay.
girl
like,
too. You're a music girl and you're a girl's girl.
Yeah, I went through a strong Flo Milli phase during the pandemic, and I do appreciate her.
That's nice. Look at
I
you.
do.
See, Gab?
Maybe
You
I'm a
mentioned in the
little
book
bit
that, by the way, she has a new book out, just in case you're just joining us. You Got Anything Stronger? Following her best-selling book, We're Going to Need More Wine.
Yes.
So we will send somebody to the liquor store.
We
now
absolutely
to get us
just sent somebody to the liquor store.
to get us something strong. Congratulations. You're such a good storyteller. You're such a good writer. And this will be a bestseller as well, for sure.
We are speaking it into existence.
Let's talk about why now and what was the most important thing that you wanted this book to deliver to the people.
Man, we've all been suffering during the pandemic, and we've been
Yes.
suffering alone because we've been in isolation. And all of our usual ways of dealing and coping in a healthy way kind of went out the window because we lost the ability to be in community with each other. So with this book, I want to help bridge that gap and create more communities and by being radically transparent. I believe through transparency, you breed community. And through community, we have collective healing.
You are like painfully transparent.
Painfully.
Painfully for me as somebody who knows you and to read some of those stories. But also I can imagine for you when you're writing this, is it a painful experience to have to go through some of that? I mean, you seem like you've done a lot of work on yourself and therapy and worked through some of these things before you get to this point. But I mean, we talk about heavy, rape. We're talking about infertility. We talk about, just heavy stuff.
Heavy stuff. Yeah.
Painful?
No. Therapeutic. Liberating.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like freedom because I was holding back on these stories from the first book because I wasn't ready to release them. I wasn't ready to be transparent. I wasn't ready to be accountable to the public in any kind of real or impactful way. But then those secrets, they become like secrets that poison you slowly. And I was tired of poisoning myself. So I wanted to let it go.
I heard you. You talked about this, and we did a book thing for some people who bought your book earlier today, and we talked about this a bit. But like, how not being able to have a baby, and people don't really talk about that, how that makes women actually feel. And you were honest about that and said it made you feel less like a woman. And then I'm careful to talk about certain because you're also my friend, and I want to make sure you're comfortable. But like, you also talk about the fact that Dwayne was able to have
easily
a child so easily, and what that did to you.
Yeah, devastated me, broke me in a way that I'm still putting pieces back together.
Mm-hmm.
But more than anything, I wanted to be a mother. I wanted to experience every part of that journey with the same ease, and that just wasn't my particular path.
Mm-hmm.
And still trying to make peace with knowing that there's all different kinds of ways to be a woman and all different kinds of ways to be a mother, and to be a mother and to mother. And there's no one right way, no matter what anyone says. And if you've been on this fertility journey and it hasn't been a happy ending, it doesn't mean you're incomplete. It doesn't mean you're defective. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It's not a character defect. It's just one of those things we have to deal with.
I'm sure there's so many women that appreciate hearing those stories from you.
Yeah.
And it's really fascinating, the journey. If you look about how sad or how dark of a place you were in that moment, how you were broken, not just as a woman in terms of infidelity, but you also talk about your relationship being in a bad place and having that. And then you look at your family now.
Yeah.
And what you've been able to like evolve into. What is that? What is the key to that? Because you had to heal your relationship. You had to heal yourself. Are you honest about like how that breaks you? I know you're honest in the book now, but you had to have been honest with him also.
Absolutely.
Right?
I had to be honest with everybody because everyone had everyone had an opinion.
I'm sure.
Everyone felt entitled to an opinion. Everyone felt entitled to tell me what they thought I should do. But when you're in fight or flight mode and you kind of just become numb, and you just do what you normally do, which is put one foot in front of the other. And whether these are the right steps forward, you're hustling backwards, you don't really know for a while how it's all going to shake out, because you kind of, for me, what my body does, it's sort of, I hover over myself, and I talked about it in the first book. While I was being raped, it was like my soul left my body to protect me because it knew I couldn't handle the enormity of what was happening to me. So it
that was
kind
so
of left
powerful.
me,
I remember reading that and feeling you.
Yeah, it's called disassociation, where you sort of, almost, like I describe it as like hovering over myself. And a similar thing happened. So I'm on autopilot, and my body, my soul was like, let me protect you for a while. So by the time I kind of came back into myself, I came back into my body with my soul. So much had changed, and I didn't want to have a current reaction to something that had been years ago decision.
That long? You were disconnected for that long?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And but by that point, everybody had done the work, or is doing the work. And yeah, and I have all the coulda, woulda, shouldas, and everyone has very strong opinions about those coulda, woulda, shouldas. But at the end of the day, I stuck in there, and where we are today, I will never say it's worth it, because that would be a lie. But
really,
worth the pain? Nobody needs to be anybody's trauma mule to be worthy of love and respect and peace. So I wouldn't suggest that. But the way it worked out for me now, I'm just so madly in love and at peace, and our family is complete and whole and healthy, and we have survived, and now we're in a place of thriving because of consistency and therapy.
And don't you find that when you go through something that, you call it a trauma mule, I've never heard anybody say that, that's brilliant, but don't you find when you can heal after something like that, that there's something that you two probably have that is even stronger because you've made it through? I'm sure he has a deeper appreciation and a deeper kind of like, I don't know, I just feel like the love, if you can make it to the other side, and both parties and everyone's doing the work, if you can make it to the other side, there is...
I mean, everyone's changed,
What
when
do you mean?
survive something as a unit, because that's a family journey.
Oh, right. It's not just the parents. It's not just the parents.
We have,
Right.
older kids,
Yes.
who face this
Yes.
and deal with this and have feelings about it. Everyone went through this.
Yeah, and
our friends.
And we should just note, this is not that unusual of a situation.
Turns out, no.
We should just note, because as you're sharing this, and I didn't even expect you to share that much of that, but it's really beautiful to hear, because I'm thinking about some friends that I know that have dealt with similar situations, and you're like putting that into perspective for me a little bit.
You can never speak in absolutes, you know, but how it shook out for us and how we are walking through life together today, we are strong as a unit. Like individually, you know, like you might, jab, body blow, but as a unit,
Right.
As long as we stick together and as long as we show that respect and that humility within our family, like I can't be like, I know it all, I figured it all out, because I have no clue.
Yeah.
But as long as we commit to that collective shrug of like, I don't know, but we're gonna figure it out together. And that's we wake up every day and we choose to shrug and be like, I don't know, we can figure it out together. High five, psh, let's go. And that's what our family has committed to doing, and we've emerged stronger.
God bless.
Stronger through the fire.
And you have fun.
I know.
I know. I've been. I've seen.
I
I always want to go. If I get invited to a party, and I hate because your parties always come. There's like, I think it's like Powerhouse Week or something. When is your birthday?
Is there a Halloween around Halloween?
Yeah, it's always
29th.
Powerhouse Weekend, and I always miss your birthday parties, and they're always like legendary, and I'm always sad. I might skip Powerhouse this year to go to Gab's party.
Well, I think I'm skipping my party. I wanted to. I felt like.
Is it COVID?
No.
Oh,
no,
not COVID.
No. My friends are vaccinated.
Okay.
And we adhere to the rules.
Yeah.
No, so we haven't had to miss a beat. Once the vaccine was introduced, we were like, perfect. We can protect ourselves and give ourselves a fighting shot with this.
Yeah.
No, I just felt like maybe let's wait until my 50th to kind of bring the party back. But at 49, I want to be on somebody's beach with something stronger.
Yeah.
And
by the way, what is taking you so
like
long?
half naked and just frolicking somewhere.
I love it.
You know what I mean? And
All right.
reconnecting with myself.
That's good. It'll give me time to like organize my schedule so that I don't have to miss another one of those amazing
the
Gab
50th
parties.
Well, and now I can throw all my weight into planning Dee's 40th. And I love that he's talking about his 40th like he's,
Old.
110.
And you're like,
He's like, well, I'm 40 now. I'm like, yeah, I've been 40 for a while. Yeah.
you talk about in the book why that works for you.
What, the age difference?
Yes.
Well,
Why it works? Because he's like older in his years, right? Like he's like he's the older person in the relationship a little bit.
In a lot of ways, just from his childhood and how everything he survived as a child, with his parents and the South Side of Chicago makes you grow up fast. And so we kind of came in, and by the time I met him, he had been married, divorced, had kids. Like he'd been a parent for a while. Right. So I was like, ooh, couldn't be me.
He's grown. Oh, yeah, he's grown.
He's grown. Okay, he's more mature than me. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So it works. It's only when it comes to like music and let's get some concert tickets. And I'm like, Earth, Wind and Fire's in town. And he's like, whoa, okay, gotta love Verdine. Whoop whoop for Verdine, but. How about we go to like a Drake listening party? And I'm like, do you think there will be proper seating with back support? And it's those times like that where I feel the age difference.
But clearly it works.
It works. We figure it out.
So there's a lovely anecdote about a strip club experience that you had.
Yes.
Take us to, it's approximately page 65 here.
Yes. Turn to your hymnals to page 65. To the chapter called
By the way, at home, feel free to read along if you like. Tell us this story.
Oh, so I don't even remember what year exactly, but we had been out in Atlanta. I think I was in town shooting Daddy's Little Girls, probably. Sounds about right. Timing. And I'm out with the mayor of Atlanta, Shaka Zulu.
Yes.
And Hype Williams was with us.
Oh,
and
yes.
I was trying to think ahead. I was trying to be proactive because I had been a little backed up.
But you were going out with them to the strip club that night.
Yes, we'd been at a club, and now we're, the next stop of the night is the strip club. We're going to Magic City, as one does, as I always do. And
you're a strip club girl.
Absolutely. Sue's, Sue's Rendezvous, out here. That's the only one I've really been to out here, I believe. And I was thinking, gosh, I've been a little backed up. Haven't been as regular as I normally
in the stomach area.
Yeah, and it was like making me feel sick. literally. So we stop at a gas station. I was like, oh, this is a perfect time. I'm going to go into, they had like a little convenience store. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to somehow sneak and buy some X-Lax. And I'm going to gobble it up. And hopefully by the time I, wake up in the morning, I will have got some freedom, got some movement, got some action.
Yeah.
So, go in,
This story is going bad already. You know where the story is going.
Oh, it's amazing. So I go in, I get the X-Lax, but like.
At a gas station.
At a gas station, their little convenience store. And Hype and Chaka are like lingering, in the store. I guess they're probably like making sure I'm straight. And I'm like, well, I don't want them to see. So I'm trying to palm the X-Lax so they don't see what I'm buying. I'm hoping they think it's like some Wrigley's. They don't really leave. So I grab a magazine. I get it like I'm reading right now. It's 4 a.m. So I slide it to the cashier, whatever. So walking to the car, they're a little ahead of me. I gobble it real quick. Probably too much. Get to the strip club, and that's, when the Hennessy starts flowing, I got my stack. We're in there. They've made the announcement. I'm in the building. I got my
why would
food.
you take an X-Lax going to the strip club?
Because it's supposed to take time. It's not immediate. I've never experienced like immediate relief. Get in the club, they Gabrielle Union's in the building, center of the wings, girls, whatever. So I'm surrounded, I'm feeling myself, I'm the king of New York, in the strip club. Everything's going great. All of a sudden,
No, my God.
No, oh no. Flop sweat, full flop sweat.
That's the worst. You feel like you're poisoned.
Yeah. Oh, I'm dying. This is happening. This is how I'm going to literally die in a strip club. But the girl that had been dancing for me, she sees the sudden flop sweat and the alarm on my face.
She's like,
baby, are
wrong?
you okay? And I'm like, I need to use a private bathroom. And she's like, oh yeah, no problem. Come this way. So she takes me into their private area. There's a public restroom, but what I had to do, I needed a little bit more privacy. So she takes me into the girls' private, area.
Yes.
But they're all in there, and there's one bathroom in this like relatively small space.
Right.
So I come in, and they're like, oh my God, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, no time. But I'm like, are they gonna leave? They're gonna hear this? They're gonna hear this unfortunate explosion that is about to happen. I'm sweating more now. It's like embarrassment and like just trouble.
Oh God!
And at a certain point, I was just like, "F it, I gotta go in and handle business." And so I'm in there. You can't really rush those things. So I'm in there
Waiting
for a while, wishing I had that stupid magazine I bought.
Where's Shaka and Hype at this point?
Listen. They I don't even notice. They noticed I was missing.
They are being entertained.
They are being entertained as we are at Magic City. And I'm just trying to like hoping almost to like wait them out. So like maybe they have to like their shift is up, or whatever. They go home. But I eventually come out and, it's kind of like the, hey girl, where like, oh God, they heard it. This is like in Dolby stereo. This is awful. But I'm still like sweating and I still don't feel great. And one gets a rag for my forehead and one gets a rag for my neck. And they're like, baby, it's okay. Like, we've all been there. So they were just so kind in this moment where I was like mortified.
So
and it was
sweet.
all of my own creation. So before you judge, folks who work in adult entertainment, dancers, know that they are the nicest people.
And you never know when you might need them.
Exactly. The kindness of strippers.
Lovely story.
Yes, thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you.
A little different from where we were going earlier.
Yeah, listen, because my life is complex. It is a mini thing.
Some of my favorite stories in the book about your family, right? Because we have stories of you going to taking Zaya to her first Pride parade.
Yes.
I told you that I love that story. It is so sweet. Stories about Zaire telling you you were not certain about surrogacy, but you had been through all the emotional ups and downs of not being able to have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Zaire was the one, right?
Yes.
Who said to you what?
You deserve this. It's gonna make me cry right now. Because what you forget is that your kids are along on this journey with you. You think you're hiding them, hiding things from them, protecting them from every heartbreak. But, the first time that we miscarried, we had told the kids. Mm-hmm. And then we had to go back and deliver the bad news. And all they know is it feels like death. Mm-hmm. And so after that, we were like, okay, we can't tell them anything else because that was crushing. And after so many, we just assumed that nothing bad was happening. But they knew. They knew every time.
Wow.
Because we're all in the house together, and you can't really hide things from your family in that kind of way, and not for that long. And so by the time we got to the surrogacy decision, Zaire was like...
How old is he at the time?
4 years.
Okay, he's a teenager.
15, 16,
he's a teenager.
15, 16. For him to say, you deserve this. Because you start to feel like you are undeserving of creating life. You know, because these embryos, these fetuses, these babies are rejecting you, is what it feels like. Because you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you're not whatever enough. And so for a child to say this at one of my darkest hours, because making that decision wasn't a relief, it was an admission of failure, is what it felt like. And so for Zaire to say that, it just put everything in perspective.
So good.
Yeah, it's still putting it in perspective for me.
Yeah,
you know?
because I get that.
Yeah,
it's such a sweet. Even in the book, it's a very sweet moment.
I'm incredibly lucky to have really cool kids in my life. Very, very cool.
Wow.
Wise children.
Zaya is very wise and very strong and very she's become this like symbol.
I mean, she's...
Are you in awe of her every day? Like, how are you navigating that? And I wonder what you tell people, because you seem to be doing such a good job. Your whole family?
Well, because we lead with, like, we don't know. We're figuring this out as we go along. But what is not on the table is to make any of our children disposable. Is to, our home has to be everyone's sanctuary. Because the world is going to be what the world is. But within these walls, this is a sanctuary. So we got to get up to speed. Zaya is so far ahead of us. We have to catch up. And every time we put like a roadblock up,
like what? What is a roadblock like?
Like, oh, well, we're protecting you from this, or we're protecting you from that, or so like something like an example would be we disabled her comments on her Instagram. So unless she follows you and you follow her, you can't leave a comment. Because there was, we know what's out there from grown-ups, from people who should know better, how they speak of a child.
From people who are public
lives.
Platforms.
Exactly. But it's like, well, Zaya will be like, well, are you protecting me or are you protecting you? Yep, okay. And if this was a drinking game, and now's the time when you take a drink.
Zaya with a bar.
Yeah, when your kids read you for filth. And we're constantly having to question ourselves and unlearn things and divest from this notion that full assimilation is the only way that people are deserving or are going to have opportunities or success or peace or joy or love. So we have to, we're writing our own, charting our own course.
Yeah.
And we take the lead, of Zaya. People are like, why would you make all of that public? And it's like, we weren't. But Dwayne was doing a documentary about like his last year in his career and whatnot. And it was a lot of footage of Zaya as a little person. And because to show Zaya in, present time is to reveal something, and we were, again, are we protecting Zaya or are we protecting us? And Zaya, because a lot of this is happening in the house, she was like, hey, can you make sure they use my name? And we were like, yeah. But you got to understand that if we explain your name and ask them not to use your dead name, which is how she refers to her previous name, there's going to be some follow-up questions. And you basically are putting it all out there. So understand what you're asking us. And we had to, walk through it over, step by step of what the worst case scenario of what could happen. And she was like, I want my name. And I want people to respect my name and my pronouns. And we were like, say less, done and done. And, so
I love that.
It really was about her name, just wanting to be addressed in the way that she wants to be addressed, and having people respect that.
A lot of the, some of the negative narrative we hear, it is in terms of you guys as parents, it almost like insinuates some way that you are pushing this or leading this or allowing this, that it's on you to control this, like it's a controllable situation that you guys are, some of that narrative happens. And even when I was mentioning to you what a great story in here about how you took Zaya to the first Pride parade, you weren't like, hey, we're going to the Pride parade.
No.
You went to Zaya and, well, you can tell the story about it.
Yeah, so we were having, a me and Zaya day, and I'd made a reservation. I called to make a reservation at this spot that does drag queen bingo. It's super fun.
It's called drag queen bingo?
Drag queen bingo.
Oh,
right? Like it's
good times.
Yeah, it's a very good time. But there's like performances. It's very lively and it's a lot of fun. And so when I called to make the reservation, they were like, this is kind of crazy. I'm just going to throw it out there. Would you ever be interested in being on our float, before your reservation? It's Pride and our restaurant has a float. And this year's theme is Bring It On. And here you are calling, and I mean, I gotta ask. And I was like, well, let me ask my date, if they would want to come to Pride. So I was like, Zaya, I have an opportunity to go to Pride, would you want to go? And she was like, Pride? I've always wanted to go to Pride.
Aww.
When I say she's literally never, mentioned Pride, I was like, wait, what? She's like, I've always wanted to go. I've always wanted to, basically like see my people.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've been to Pride all over the world. I'm good in these Pride streets. Hold on. So we got our Bring It On little outfits and whatnot. And then cute. I was like, okay, if we're going to be a part of this, parade and Pride, we need our village. We need Zaya's village. So family, friends, teachers, tutors, coaches, everyone came out and they all walked along, the float, the whole parade route. And watching Zaya on that float, watching her in her community and come alive. It was like she was being birthed on that float. But it comes from exposing her and giving her access to her community. And so you can see all the possibilities of the world, and to know that there is a space and a place for all of us and a community that is here welcoming you with open arms, just like we are at home. There can be your home family and then a chosen family. But that is the beauty of building community and giving access to community. In the same way, if you raise your kids and they're of color in all white communities, you need to make damn well sure that you are taking the time to also make time for communities that look like you. So your kids aren't completely disconnected.
Right.
She
must feel, your whole family, they must feel so supported.
I hope at the very least that they feel supported and safe and nurtured and protected and worthy of all of that.
So, Kavya.
This child.
The shady baby.
Yes.
She's so cute, and she's an adult in that body. So we were talking about Kavya. Should we play our Kavya game?
Oh.
We have a Kavya game.
Oh, okay.
Because we have facial expressions of the shady baby.
Yes.
When did the shady baby title come into play, by the way? Who named her the shady baby?
From jump. Like, she came out the womb over it. She was like, oh my God, get off me. Who are these people? But it was like all her expressions were just over it, like from like a newborn. So it just became funny. And somebody was like, ooh, that's a shady baby. And so then it became
that was it.
Yeah, we had the hashtag.
Again, this is how you out your whole family. I love that you embrace that. It's funny.
Like if I tried to force her into some
smiling, smile, baby, smile.
Yeah, she's like, take it. You're gonna get what you get. Take the picture. I'm like, whatever. Give me something to smile about. But yeah, she is who she is.
But
like,
then when you
do
post pictures and show videos of her smiling, it's like you've
been blessed.
You've been blessed.
You've been touched by an angel, girl. Yes.
That's so good.
She's the best.
Her expressions are great, so we have some to share with you, and we thought maybe as her mother, you could kind of tell us what she's thinking or what's going on in her shady baby face.
Okay, I'll do my best.
This is like decoding Kavya.
Okay. Word? That's what we on today?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Word.
Also, maybe listening to her dad recreate stories from his playing days that maybe are not quite accurate.
No doubt, Dad.
I don't even like you. Who let you in here? Who RSVP'd for you? This is a meeting that should have been an email.
You're so good at this game.
Well, thank you. I know she didn't show up here in that. God bless. That's not Burger King. That's a mom burger. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Understood. By the way, this works almost anything.
When I am going through my timeline and I see my child as a meme for strangers, I'm like, job well done. Job well done, Mom.
You did good in the
Way
world.
to go. Yeah.
You did great things in the world.
Yeah, and my work here is done.
And your work here.
I'll see you at graduation. Oh my God.
Well done. That was so much fun. All right. So, what should people know about this book? We could go through the stories and be here all day. You know, one more thing I wanted to talk to you about that I saw. Well, two things. Met Gala.
Oh, yes.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Did you have a great time? Because I saw you in the streets after with Queen Latifah and Regina King. It looked like that was a good time.
Yeah, that's where the fun is. The after parties are where like the fun is. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, you know, the Met, navigating the stairs. I look like Gollum. Like, it's like Gollum pose. Gollum pose. Like, it was, thank God they cut out the Gollum of the walking up the stairs of it all.
There was a lot of disappointment in some of the outfits this year. Were you pleased or disappointed with the other outfits the other ensembles and fashion? Or were you pleased?
I'm not one of those people that is like, they understood the assignment and they did not. Listen, if you got out of bed and, you know, you made it in traffic and you navigated the stairs and nobody fell down them, it's a successful Met. What I noticed were all of the people of color, and there were so many more people of color from around the world. And it truly looked like a much more diverse experience than it had perhaps in years past. And people felt comfortable. You know, usually we kind of hang by the bar. We
because it's like
I don't belong
group.
here.
Yeah.
But no, everybody felt like they belonged.
Yeah.
Like this younger generation, they take up space. They don't ask for permission. Yeah. And it's just beautiful to see. And so many of us, you know, older kids, we're just like, yeah.
Because you've experienced that room differently.
Yeah, and there weren't the people to say, no, take up space. Mm-hmm. We are the culture. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, this is your space. Mm. You know, we are art. We are, you know, all of it. We don't need to shrink to show gratitude. We don't need to be in a constant state of gratitude, you know, in a way that the others are not. They don't even think about it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We're getting the invitations that we should have always been gotten, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Period. So enjoy it. Drink up. Eat the food. Make new friends.
Have fun.
Talk.
Yeah.
You know, I'd be in there like a mute, like just, oh, what? I'm sorry, what? And speaking in a way, like, you know what I mean? You just feel like, okay, this isn't really something that is for me.
Yeah.
But people just owned their space, and they spoke at full volume, and they were their full selves. And it's like, oh my gosh, I wish I had that when I was, you know, their age and coming up, that freedom. You know what I mean? To be like, to stand in the courage of your conviction. You know what I mean? So it was just awesome to see. Like, I arrived and TT was there, Tiana Taylor was there, and she had snacks. And I was like, my people. But I hadn't eaten all day.
It was the snacks for you?
Oh, I was like,
it was the snacks.
Everyone's like, oh, her body. I'm like, yeah. You don't need those snacks. I need those snacks. It's like seeing family, you know, thrive. And that was the best part to me on the carpet.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I know we're not talking about fashion so much, but I did have a favorite. I wonder if you did, because Iman to me was,
oh my gosh,
like
she
a
sat
dream
at the next table,
and kind of represents what you're talking about. Because here's this 66-year-old woman that was there before you were there, so you could only imagine what she's seen. And she's always showed up very regal and very beautiful. But her showing up looking like that in this moment, it was a very big, beautiful thing.
It was awesome. So by the time I got up the stairs and did the Green Mile walk, and got to my table, like luckily I had one of the first tables right when you come in the door, and I just plopped myself down. Yeah. And luckily Iman was at the table, you know, next to me.
Oh, so you saw her close.
Oh yeah. Well, so like my table, you know, the people that I knew well-ish, you know, Kris Jenner and Corey Gamble I've known for almost 20 years. So those were the people that I knew, but the people sitting, right next to me, I didn't know that well, and they certainly did not know me. They're like, Ashanti Brandy, one of them. It's got to be one of those. And Iman saw me and saw like how I was sitting, that like I couldn't really get up that well because it was a harder dress to move in. Mm-hmm. She got up. And she came over.
She got up in the big
thing, and she came and she gave me the biggest hug. And the man that was sitting next to me was like, "Oh wait," Iman came and hugged her, and he said, "Oh, you know my seatmate." And she said, "Everyone knows your seatmate. Ooh. Catch up." And I was like, "Ooh,
yes!"
Ooh! And yeah, so it's like she gave me some wings. You know what I mean?
We love her even more.
Yeah, she's that girl. Like, but all like Pat Cleveland and Beverly Johnson, and they give it up, and they are our protectors. Beth Ann Hardison, like they give it up for us, and they go up for us. And luckily, when I was coming up, it was Regina King and Tisha Campbell and Tashina Arnold and Jennifer Lewis, and none of them were invested or were interested in watching us fail. So it's like we come from a long line of Black women in this industry. That want to see us win. And so you try to continue that.
So. I love that story.
Thank you.
I do want to talk to you because we've lost a lot of people recently, and sometimes, and it's funny because you and I spent time together, I know you, and sometimes you're friends with people and you don't even realize so many of your friends are also friends with the same people.
Yeah.
And when Michael K. Williams passed, who I just adored, I mean, you did too, it was crazy how many people had the similar experience, and it made me sad in a way because I'm like, why didn't we all gather to give the flowers and gather to kind of have these conversations before? And we never do that until somebody's gone.
Well, I think because the root of so many of our relationships with Mike was that he saw us in a way that, I mean, to this day, I don't know how he knew the things about me that he knew.
Like
I
what?
hadn't shared them with anybody. I mean, things I still wouldn't share. Like they're not in the book for a reason, because it's I'm not things I still struggle with. But we saw it. We did a movie together, and first day we're like rehearsal or fittings or whatever, and some other cast members were being loud, and our eyes locked, and he was like, we were both like, oh God, whatever. So as we were leaving, he was like, I want to take you to dinner. I was like, oh, I'd love that. And he's like, I'll meet you in your hotel lobby. So I come down the lobby, we walk right outside, and then he stops like on a dime and turns and looks at me and proceeds to tell me about myself, like where I'm trying to scan my brain of like who do we have in common, and who would have just shared this willy-nilly with him. And I'm like, wait, I haven't shared this with anybody. And I was like, how do you know this? And he said, I see it. I see you. And I was bawling on the streets of Cincinnati. And that was our relationship. He saw me, and he was so present and so amazing. But he also was brutally honest about his own demons and challenges. Mm-hmm. And so nothing is ever a surprise in that way, because he just led with his truth in a way that was so radical and brutal and uncomfortable. You can never claim you didn't know. Not with Mike. And the time that he took for me, it's always randomly right when I start to circle the drain. Hey kid, just checking to make sure you're staying in the light, right? And that was something we said to each other. And so we were in France, and I got the text, and I just was like, come on, you know what I mean? Come on. And I went to my phone. I was like, what was the last thing I said to him? And I said, stay in the light, my friend. I love you, man. And it was like, okay, thank God. And where we were at in Burgundy, at this old chateau winemaker, he had told the story about his ancestors planting this tree that they now call the wisdom tree. And as immediate as my grief was, something else was like, go to the tree, put your hands on the tree, on the trunk, and just pray and talk to him. And it was like, I swear to God, it was like he was standing next to me.
Oof.
And immediately I was like, oh, his spirit never dies. He's not going anywhere. His shell is no longer here, but his spirit and everything he has been to all of us is never going to die. And then I felt relief that I hadn't lost him. And so I rejoiced in what I have of him. And then as I'm going through my, my timeline, and I'm thinking, I always thought, I'm like, how does this guy work like he does, have all these opportunities and still have this time for me? I thought it was something special just for me.
Right.
And I'm going through my timeline. I'm like, well, okay. Okay, he's the same. Like, and I truly believe he was one of those
I saw so
angels
many
on
of those.
earth. Like he had a purpose that was beyond anything that we could imagine. And somehow he was able to see us all and give us relief, salvation, healing, light. And he like, we used to joke. I'm like, oh, you're like the Archangel Michael, like a little mischievous, like you got a little sauce to you. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
that was actually perfect.
It was. It's always hard,
Hard.
when X passed. It's just hard, because who they are to you is, not always how the rest of the world experiences them, So it's like X to me, Golden Girls, New Edition, and drinking Heinekens, and riding, those, what do you call those, like little four-wheeler things, around Sherman Oaks neighborhood, which we're definitely not zoned for that.
That was your experience with X?
I mean, we did a movie, and then we still became friends. He bought one of my dogs. That we had littermate dogs that he had Pebbles and Bam Bam. I had Bubba, and every time I saw him, it was like I ran into an actual brother. He let me in for whatever reason. Mainly because I don't talk out of school, probably. He probably right now like, oh my God, why are you talking about, New Edition and Golden Girls and all that? But I want people to know there was so much more to him than the growl and his challenges. You know?
He was fun.
He was fun. One of us.
We just did an interview with, I did an interview with Swiss recently. He told me that him and Michael were talking about Mike playing him in a Broadway, in a theater, like a Broadway kind of version of X's life, which would have been incredible.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, but God bless them. I love that story about Mike, and we got to just pay attention to people while they're here. I just had that conversation with a bunch of friends. Like, we could have those thoughts. We should really, I think how we honor them is finding those things in people while they're still here and making sure that we're locked into that. You seem to do that though.
I try to, I try to do that. If it pops into my mind, I'm like, okay, before I forget, hey man, just thinking of you, you know what I mean? Or what's up girl? I try to remember it in the moment. And then I try to pay attention on social media. I try to read between the lines. I don't make it a public thing. When people are like, why haven't you spoken out against blah, 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 blah? I'm like, because I call them directly, like a normal person. I have their number, email as well. I got their mama's number. If I have something to say, I'm going to say it to them. I'm not going to be a public shield, but I'm going to tell them, there's some ways that you could do things differently. And you need to broaden your horizons because you're going to get left behind. And I'd hate to see that. And there is the room for growth and evolution. So I hope you commit to that. But that's just
bars for somebody called a bar for some.
But it's that's what real friendship is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's why I love Regina King. She
please
pulled my coattail many a day.
Really?
Stop it, Gab. Stop it. Enough. And I'm like, it is. Turns out it is enough. Thank you, Regina.
God bless Regina King.
Ooh, she's a real one. Mm-hmm.
You are a real one too, baby. And I promise you, everybody, it's an easy read, but it's also an emotional read and a funny read. I tell you this all the time, you're such a great storyteller. And congratulations on another best-selling book.
From your lips to God's ears.
You're amazing. We love you. Gabrielle Union, everybody. It's Power 105.1.